Hello guys, welcome back to another exciting video. So in this video, we're going to go over how to work with tabular data. Basically, imagine a PDF document, right? A PDF document has not only text, but also has tables and also has images, right? So in the previous videos, we have been going over working with mainly the text data from PDF files, extracting this text data, building an index on it, and then building a RAG application on top of that, right? On top of that vector store. But now, one thing I realize is that whenever there is tables inside of our PDF documents, the tables get extracted in the wrong way, and the tabular information is lost, and the LLM cannot really answer any question regarding that table. Okay, so imagine a financial document such as maybe a 2-column cash book or a 3-column I think there's also 3-column cash books, balance sheets and trial balances or bank statements, right? All these financial documents and all these documents are presented in a tabular format. Let's say that you want to build a chatbot to be able to chat with such document, right? So the normal textual extraction way that we have done so far doesn't really work for that such scenario. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to work with tabular data, extract the tabular data, maintain the format of the tables extracted, and then being able to index it and provide it to LLMs to be able to answer different questions about different documents. So we're going to be building a financial document that's going to be able to help us chat over a financial statement. So let me just show you this document that I have right here. So I went online and just do the random search on basically if the sample financial statement, and I got this document, and I'm going to provide a link to this document so that you guys can download it and follow along with the tutorial. Okay, so I went ahead and did a search and got this document, and you can see this document has tabular information, even though it doesn't come like tabular information, like you don't see the lines of the rows and the columns, but this is tabular data, right? If you've ever done finance, I did a bit of finance in high school, because of accounting, so bookkeeping it was called. So I know that I knew that off the bat that this is a financial document, and it has a lot of is in a tabular format, right? So I'm going to show how to extract all these tables and then build a RAG application on top of this so it can help us answer different questions about this document. So let's say that you don't really like finance like me. I dropped out of finance class. Let's say that you're like me, you don't really like finance, right? So I want to build a board that can help me answer my financial questions based on my financial documents, like my bank statement, my trial balances, and all of that, right? So how do I do that? And this is what I'm going to cover in this video. Okay, so let's get started with it. So let me just go back in here. So this is the thing we're going to go ahead and do, or the best project overview, or everything that you're going to be covering in this video. Okay. So this is the project overview, and it's going to outline everything that you're going to be covering in this video. So you're going to go ahead and learn about installing the dependencies, getting financial documents like the one I just showed you. You're going to load the PDF document, extract the different tables, extract the text data, process all of them, creating embeddings, and then creating a chatbot on top of those index data. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing let me just give you an overview of the architecture that we'll be implementing. So we'll have a user. The user is going to upload his or her financial document. You're going to be using unstructured.io to extract the tables and the text information from it, create a summary of the tables and the text data, and then you're going to embed this information inside of a multi-vector retrieval, multi-vector retrieval store, right? And then from there, you're going to go ahead and retrieve. When the user asks a question, you're going to go ahead and retrieve the information that can be used to answer the question by performing a similarity search between the user's query and the existing document basically the document embeddings that we have in our embedding store. Retrieve the most relevant information, but instead of retrieving the embedded information, you're going to retrieve the raw data itself, right? So the raw tables or the raw text, you're going to pass that to the LLM, and the LLM can then answer the question based on that. So the reason why I'm saying you're going to retrieve the raw text, the raw tables instead of the summary that was embedded, because we're going to be using the multi-vector retrieval store. And let me just explain to you how this works. So basically, I think it's best if you look at this in the other section of the video, right? So for now, I just want to give you an overview of the architecture. There's a section when we cover this in more detail. So let me just not go ahead of myself. So let me just keep that for now. But in the video, we're going to show a section where I'm going to explain to you how exactly this works under the hood. Okay. Okay, so now let's be covering the project overview you've already looked at. You install dependencies, get the financial documents, load PDFs, extract the tables. You're going to also use the unstructured.io API client. So because you don't have to run everything locally on your machine, even though you can do that. and you're going to do the pre-processing of data, generating summaries, creating embeddings, and then indexing those embeddings in the vector store, and then building our chatbot on top of that. After that, we'll share a simple conclusion. So this is a project overview, right? I have explained to you already, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip this part right here. So now let's look at installing the dependencies. So I have a couple of dependencies that I would like us to install for this to work. So I just made a simple directory. I'm going to call it mkdraw. I'm going to call it financial underscore statement underscore bot. And I'm going to change directory into that folder that we just created. And I'm going to go ahead and create a Python virtual environment using the third command on the screen. So Python 3 -mvenv and then venv. Okay. So I've already done all of that just to save on time, so you don't have to watch me do all that again. So I've already done that, and I went ahead and installed a couple of libraries as well. So all of that is installed. So if I just expand on this, you can see all the requirements are already satisfied. So we need to install a couple of libraries, and these are libraries, right? We need to install unstructured IO for all documents, unstructured client, a watermark, python.env to really help us to read environment variables, Pydantic, Langchain, Langchain Community, Langchain Core, Langchain OpenAI, and ChromaDB. Okay, so I already have all this installed so that you don't have to watch me install all this. Okay, so once I have those installed, I can also get information about my hardware, so you can see which underlying operating system and what's the hardware that I'm using. So you can see I'm using a Linux system. This is a processors. I have 4 cores, so you don't have to actually have a very powerful machine to do this unless you want to do it locally. So I'm going to be using mainly the API because I don't want to run things locally on my machine. You need a much bigger hardware to do that. Okay, so now that's out of the way. So now let's also write this code right here to ignore any warnings. Okay, so just run that. Okay, so once we have all that out of the way, so what next? So let's go ahead and simply let me just delete this. So we're going to go ahead and simply load in a PDF document. So to load in the PDF document, we're going to make sure that you have the document downloaded and added it inside of your project folder. Let's say I have it right here inside of this folder called data. I have my PDF file in there. Okay, good. So once I have that in there, now I'm going to go ahead and simply load in our data. But before even loading our data, you can actually check the different things that we have installed from unstructured. So you say unstructured, unstructured.io, look up, just like that. So once I have this right, I'm going to go ahead and do the following. So I'm going to go ahead and simply say import. Sorry for that. So I'm going to go ahead and say import, and I'm going to go ahead and import unstructured right here and dot partition. I'm going to go ahead and say help, and then simply pass in unstructured dot partition, and that's going to go ahead and show us all the different packages content that you have installed. So you have the API client, we have the CSV client, the Docker. You can see you can work with all these different files, HTML files, Markdown files, and all these other files, PDF files, PDF images, and all that, right? So you have all this installed, right? Good. So it's good to know just to see what you have available in your system. So once we have this done, I'm going to go minimize this and then create a new cell below here. So let me just minimize this so that it doesn't take space. So minimize this. Okay, for some reason it doesn't show the doc. Okay, I understand why. Because we don't have a heading, right? So that's why you're getting that issue. So once we have this done, let's go ahead and simply load in the PDF document that we want to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and simply say this is going to be load PDF document, just like that. So once we have that, let me just go ahead and I just like things to be minimized and clean. Okay, just like that. So let's load the PDF document that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and say from unstructured dot partition, I'm going to go ahead and import a function. So I'm going to say import partition. Basically, no, actually I have to say partition.pdf. I'm going to go ahead and import the partition underscore PDF, just like that. So once we have it done, I'm going to go ahead and specify PDF underscore path, which is a part of the PDF file, and it's going to be ./data, and then that. So this is a PDF file that we're going to be working with, and this file you can download it from this resource right here. I'm going to keep the link in the description of the video, right? Even if I don't upload this document, you can always find your own PDF document, but let's just work with this document. So just click in the link in the description and you'll find this link to this file. Okay, so once I have this, I'm going to also say elements, which is the different elements instead of our document. I'm going to say partition PDF and then pass in the PDF file right there. So once we have passed in the path to that file, so you can also go ahead and do a couple of things. You can just go ahead and simply say file name, just like this, and then you pass in the file name, which is this file name right here. So once we have that done, we can just go ahead and run this cell by pressing shift and enter on your keyboard. That's going to go ahead and run this cell, and it's going to go ahead and extract all the different elements. So in unstructured, we have different element types such as email addresses, such as tabular, tables, text elements, and different types of elements. So it's going to go ahead and extract all the different elements. So once this is done, we're going to go ahead and print out all the elements. Okay, but before we do that, some of you might get an error right here. Your code might not be working, and let me tell you how to solve that issue. So let me just go here. So I've listed them here, errors you might get. So one of the errors you might get when trying to install or trying to get this to work is, first of all, you need Tesseract OCR installed. Okay, so if you read the documentation of Unstructured, they haven't really specified this really well. But if you read closer, okay, let's say they're specified, but within people don't read really close. But if you read really close and look at the system dependencies, you can see it needs an OCR, Tesseract OCR, to work with PDF files. So you need to go ahead and install Tesseract OCR, and it's going to depend based on your system. So if you're on Linux, this is a command to install Tesseract OCR, right? So you go ahead and you can easily find it right here. You can just go ahead and copy this command and install Tesseract OCR. On my end, I have it installed, and you can see it's right here. I have just installed Tesseract OCR. So you might get this error, and that's the way to solve it. You just go ahead and then install Tesseract OCR. That's one error. Another error you might get is this one right here. Python, it says that NLTK cannot load the data. So you need to go ahead and run this command right here. And I've read the documentation right here, and this is the link that you need to follow. You can go ahead and install that. I just use the command line to install it. You can also use NLTK library itself to install it. So looking for that NLTK data, so that's how you can get it installed as well. Okay, so you just run this command. You can either run this command right here, but if you're on Linux, you can also run this command, right? So whatever works for you. So you can just copy this command and then paste it instead of VS Code and then simply run it, right? Or you can run this command, right? Whatever works for you. So this is for Linux users, but this will work for any operating system. So you just have to create a new terminal, exclamation mark, and then paste in the command, which is pip, and then a -m and nltk.download all, and then simply run that cell. So that's basically how you need to do to download it. So let's go ahead and print. I'm going to go ahead and print the elements, and let's see what elements. So we have back this right here. Good. Okay, so now that's working. So let's check how many elements we have. So you can print the length of this element. So length, print the length of the elements, and let's see. So we have 257 elements being extracted. So you can just go ahead and let's make it even this more a bit descriptive. You can just say print, print, and then you're going to use an f string right here. So f string, and then say length. Let me just close it. So length of the documents. So you can just go ahead and run that, and you can see the length is actually 275 elements. Good. So now let's convert this into JSON, because this format is really, you can't really understand what this format is, right? So this format right here is really difficult to understand. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is convert this into a JSON format and then print it out, so it's much easier to understand. So I'm going to say import JSON, and I'm going to go down here. I'm going to say element underscore dict. Okay, so element dict is going to be equals to, we're going to create a list right here. We're going to say for elements in elements, right? You're going to use a list comprehension. You're going to convert the element. You're going to say it has a to underscore dict property. You're going to use that property to convert the element to a dictionary. So once we have that, let me bring all this so you guys can see. So once you have that, you can go and say output is going to be equals to json.dump. You're going to go and simply dump this element into a JSON object, and then run that cell, and I'm going to go ahead and simply print the output of that. Okay, run. You can see this output right here. So we have now extracted the elements, and you have printed the element. So you can see the elements type here is a header element. Okay, that's probably the first element. If I go back right here, if I scroll all the way to the top, this should be the header element. So let's see if that's really true. So you can see understanding basic financial statement, and that's really the header element. So you can see that identify the header element here accurately, right? So you can see it right here, right? Perfectly done. So good. So you can see, you can go ahead and examine the different elements, and you can also just click on this right here and to open up the text, and you can see it even in more details. You can examine the elements. So we have narrative test, we have narrative test as well, and you can see we have a lot of element types, right? So but if you look closely, let's check the unique elements that have been there, so you can see if any table information has been identified. So I'm going to go ahead and say unique underscore element underscore type is going to be equals to a simple set in Python. You're going to go ahead and add elements into this set. So you're going to, for each element, you're going to say unique element set dot add, and you're going to go ahead and simply say element, and you're going to go ahead and simply say the type of that element. So let's run that. Let's see. So okay, so it has no attribute. Okay, let's do this way instead. So we're going to use this method to get the element type. Okay, so now let's run this again. So let's see again. It says element. So you can say for element in this, you're going to say dot add, and you're going to simply say element, and you're trying to get the type of that element. So header object is not subscriptable. Okay, so let's see what I have done. So maybe I've done an issue right here. So let me just scroll all the way right here. So you have element dict. So you have to be the I think you have to loop through the element dict and not the element itself. Okay, so let me just go ahead and just add here the element dict and then run that. So you can go ahead and simply print the unique element types, and you can see the unique element type footer, list item, narrative text, title, and uncategorized text, and also the header. So you can see, despite of our table of our PDF document having tables, it was not able to extract the tables, right? So to be able to extract the tables, we have to now use the extract API in order to extract the tables. Okay. So to do that, what you simply have to go ahead and do is actually very, very simple. And let's see if you actually has extracted any table element. So let me just click on this, and let me just go in the instead of my table, and let's try to get this needs to be part of an element. So now copy this and then simply go back in here and then press Ctrl and F and then pass it in there. So you can see it right here. So I have this right here. So let me just try to get a more detailed. Maybe this is more detailed. Let me just copy all of this and see. Okay, copy all that and then go back in here and then simply add it in here, and let's see what we get back. So let me just say cache, and then let's see if you can get that. Okay, so you have it right here. So you see current element. So you can see this thing right here: account receivable, deposit, and expense. It has been identified as a title, so that's not really a title. So that's really wrong. So you can see identify this whole thing as a title. That's not a title. So it's failing to identify tables within our PDF document. So to do that, now we're going to use the API, the Tesseract API, in order to be able to get accurate information from there. Okay. So to use the Tesseract API, it's actually very simple. All you have to do is create a Tesseract API client, and then be able to communicate with that client to extract different PDF documents, to process different PDF documents, extract different information from each of those documents, right? So you can see right now our table information is just being extracted as a normal text. So if you use this to index, if you index this data and use it to build a RAG system, then the tabular information is going to be lost. So the LM can't really answer any question regarding our tables, right? So to do that, now we need to do a couple of things. So the first thing we need to do, go ahead and do, is simply get an API key. Okay. So how do you get an API key? So to get an API key, you have to go online and just search for this specific information. So you need to go online and just search for the following. So I'm going to go, I'm going to just type it right here so you guys can have access to it. So maybe https, and then you're going to / unstructured unstructured.io, and then from there we're going to go ahead and simply say /ap unstructured.io /api key, and then and then -free, just like this, and let's press enter. Let's see. So if you click on this link right here, this is where you can get your API key. Okay, so you can just go down here, fill in your information, and then it will send an API key into your email. So once you have that API key, once you obtain that API key, add it to an environment variable right here. Okay, so since I have my API key in there, I can open up my environment variable. But what you simply do is simply create a variable instead of your environment variable, to create a store it instead of your environment variable. So we're going to go ahead and add in something like this. So we're going to say structured underscore API underscore key, and then equals to, and then you pass in your API key there, and do the same for also the website. So we can say unstructured, so unstructured underscore API underscore URL, and then simply go ahead and pass in the API, the URL right here. So the URL that you're going to be using is hps app.structured.io, and then first this io lowercase .io / you're going to go ahead and say general / version 0, and then / general, just like this. So unstructured.io / general / version 0 / general, and that's the API key that's the URL that you're going to be using. So add this into your environment, into your env file. So make sure that this is your actual API key, and this is just the same as here, right? Good. So once you have those things added in there, we are ready to go. So we need to go ahead and read in our environment variables. Because we have the environment variables in here, we need to read them into our Python application. So we're going to say OS, import OS, I'm also going to go say from dot env, I'm going to import load env, just like that. And then you're going to go ahead and say / also find env. And you're going to go ahead and simply say load env, find env, just like that, and run that. So that's going to go ahead and load in your environment variables. So once your environment variable is loaded, you're going to go ahead and get access to it. So I'm going to go ahead and simply say unstructured API key is going to be always.get unstructured API, unstructured API key, just like that. And this is the same name that we use instead of our environment variable. So make sure it's the same name. So this is unstructured, let me just get unstructured, just like that. So unstructured API key. So we're going to go ahead and get the unstructured API underscore URL, and it's going to be os.get, and I'm going to get unstructured API URL. Okay, so unstructured API key and then unstructured API URL are the same keys that you use instead of your environment variable, right? That we just showed you right here. So once you have that, I'm going to go ahead and run that, and it's going to go ahead and load this. So if you print this, you should be able to see the environment variables that you have added within your env file, which is right here. Okay, so make sure this file is a dot and then env. Okay, so that's done. So once we have that, now let's go ahead and create a client and then connect to that client. So let's go ahead and use it right here. So all this section from all the way here, let me just document it. It's gonna be the API client, and then we run that. Okay. So now once you have that, you're going to go ahead and say from unstructured, sometimes autocomplete is just really trash. So unstructured underscore client, you're going to import the unstructured API, unstructured client. You're going to go ahead and say client, client is going to be equals to, you're going to use unstructured client, and you're going to go ahead and do the following. So open and close the parentheses. You're going to go ahead and pass in the following. So you're going to go ahead and pass in an API auth, and this is going to be equals to the unstructured API. You're going to pass this a server, the server URL, and the server URL is this right here. So just copy this and then paste it in here. Good. So that's all we need to do. So once we have that, I'm going to press enter, and then good, we have created the client right there. So good. So once you have now created the client, now you're going to extract the table using the client API. So just document this right here. Extract table with client API, just like that. Okay, so you can make this more descriptive. You can say unstructured client API instead of just saying client API, right? So this is right here. Let me just check. So this is actually okay, this is actually 2. Let me just make it 3. Okay, so that the other text is, the other heading is not a subset of it. So good. Once we have that, I'm going to go ahead and do the following. So I'm going to say from unstructured dot unstructured underscore client. I'm going to go ahead and say dot models. I'm going to import document, and I'm going to import actually document the shared. So I'm going to import shared. I'm going to say also from unstructured underscore client dot models dot errors. I'm going to go ahead and import SDK, the SDK error. Okay. I'm also going to go and say from unstructured dot client dot staging unstructured okay, this is actually wrong, not client. Unstructured dot staging. When you say dot base, I'm going to go ahead and import the form. So I'm going to import I'm going to go ahead and import the form to import the dict underscore to element, just like that. So run that. So once you have all those imports done, now let's go ahead and actually extract the actual information. So you're going to say with, you're going to use a with statement with open. You're going to use a context manager. So with open PDF file path, you're going to open it as read binary. You're going to open it, so it's in a variable called f. And then what you're going to go ahead and do right here, you're going to simply say files is called to, and you're going to use shared, and you're going to go ahead and file shared file, and you're going to go ahead and pass in the following. So you're going to say the content is going to be equals to the file.read. You're going to also go and pass in the file name, the file underscore name, and the file underscore name is going to be equals to the PDF file name that you just loaded. So good, that's all you want to do. So once you have that, you're going to say request. You're going to send a request to the API. You're going to say shared dot partition parameters dot partition parameters right here. You're going to go and pass in the file, and it's going to be equals to the file. The partition is going to be the partition type. You're going to, let's not pass in the partition type. Instead, you want to pass in the strategy. So the strategy to use, and the strategy you're going to use is going to be equals to, you're going to simply say high underscore res. So high res strategy. Okay. So the strategy is high res. Okay. So let me just make this more clear for you guys. And then from there, you're going to go ahead and say high res underscore res dot model name. You're going to use the YOLO. Sorry, this needs to be a string object. So we're going to use a YOLO X. So YOLO X. Okay. And this YOLO X is going to help us to identify the different boundaries along all the different tables. And then it's going to use OCR to extract all that information. Okay. So we're going to say skip table inference type. You're going to leave that to be an empty list. And then this is actually wrong right here, comma. Now we're going to also pass in the PDF underscore inference PDF infer table structure, and you're going to say that to be true. Okay, just like that. So once we have that done, you're going to now we're going to have a try and except block. So I'm going to say try, and to try, you're going to simply go and just say response. Response is going to be equals to the client.partition client.general, sorry, my bad. So client.general dot partitions, the partition, and then we'll pass in the request that we just created. And from there, we're going to go ahead and get all the elements. You're going to use element to dict. You're going to pass in the response that we get back. It's elements. Okay. Then we're going to say with it's going to be the SDK error that we get back. So as E, and then finally we just print E. That's all we want to do. So once you have that, let's go ahead and run this. Let's run this. See. Okay, so we have expected or in finally. Okay, so except, my bad, not with. Okay, so this is going to take a bit of time. It's going to make a request to API. So we can see it's saying that it's missing an API key is missing. Okay, so it seems you have an issue with our API key right here. So when creating the client, so let's go back all the way here and let's see if actually this is so unstructured API key. So let me just look into my environment variables and make sure that I'm actually reading the right environment variable. So let me just say it's called unstructured. Okay, the spelling of unstructured sounds wrong. So unstructured, just like that. And then also here is the same. So unstructured. So my bad. So let's read that in again. And once we have that done, we can minimize this section of the reading the API. And then from there, we can run this again. No, we need to go back in here. I need to run a couple more. So once we read this again, now we reconnect to our client one more time. Awesome. So once we have that, now we can go ahead and simply run this all again to make the request. Okay, so now that's going to make the request and read all. It's going to go ahead and extract all the tabular information, all the text information, and all the different element text, that's narrative text, email addresses, headers, and it's going to return everything back to us. So now this is not running locally on your machine. It's running local. It's running on the server that Unstructured provides you. So this server gives you some limited amount of basically credit that you can use. I think it's about 1,000 or something like that. I don't really remember, but it gives you a limited amount of credit that you can use. So that's basically it. So once this is done, now let's go ahead and print it and see what has been extracted. So let's go ahead and get the unique elements again. So unique element type is going to be equals to, and you're going to create again a set, just like we did before. And we say for element in elements, and you're going to go ahead and do element dot category. So instead of type, you're going to say category, just like that. And let's run this. So now you can go ahead and just print this out. So let's say print the element category, and let's see that. So you can see it has extracted the different elements, and now you can see now we're getting back tables. So now the table information has been read, right? So using OCR, they have identified the tables in the data, and the tables have been extracted out. So now you can see previously we're not having tables being identified as an element, but now you can have tables being identified as an element, right? So that's awesome. So once we have this done, let's look at the different, let's try to examine the different things. So let's just go back the slides, getting the financial data. We have done that, downloaded it, you have loaded the PDF, you have extracted the table locally, you have also done it with the client right now. So good. So now let's go ahead and pre-process the extracted tables and text, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get all the tables in one chunk. So I'm going to say tables is going to be equals to, and then you're going to do the following. So where category is going to be equals to the tables, table category, this capital T. Okay, so once we have that done, we can go ahead and run this all, and then let's print out the table information, table elements that have been extracted. So run that, and you can see we have the different tables being extracted there. So let's see how many tables have been extracted in total. So we can say length of this, and let's see. So we have eight different tables being extracted. Awesome. So now let's see the first table. So tables, and this is a list. So we get the first one, and we get the text part of it. So let's run that. And you can see this is a table right here. So let's see if that's actually the first table in our document right here. So you can see this is the first table right here, and it has this information, and you can see we have that information right here, but it's not displayed in a tabular format. It's just the text data, right? Okay, so if you just do it like this, then it has no difference from extracting the actual text that we did previously, because you got the same output basically. So, but let me just show you some information. You can get the metadata. So we can say tables, get the very first element dot metadata, and let's see what the metadata we get back. So this is the metadata right here, right? So now let's display the HTML information from this table. So I'm going to say first underscore table underscore HTML is going to be equals to tables, and then finally you're going to say dot metadata. So actually not here. So I'm going to say dot metadata dot text text as HTML, and then you can go ahead and simply print the first table HTML information, and then run that. You can see now it's identifying the HTML document. Now this is a HTML document, and it's not really easy to read. So now let's make it much easier to read. So to do that, I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to say from IO import string IO, and I'm also going to say from LX, I'm going to go ahead and import E3 like that. I'm going to say processor. Sorry, I'm going to create a processor object. So processor is going to be equals to E3 dot. This is going to be an XML pass. I'm going to use an XML XML processor just like this, and I'm going to say recovery. Let's just do the following. Let's, instead of passing recovery equals to true, we're going to go ahead and pass in remove blank tree is going to be equals to true, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and simply say file underscore object is going to be equals to string, and then finally passing the HTML table content. You're going to say tree is going to be equals to e3.processor, and then we're passing the file object and the processor. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and simply, we can actually go ahead and print the e3 dot string io. We're passing the tree that we extracted, the print pretty, we have set it to true, and then finally we decode and then run that. So you can see now it has displayed the information in the tabular format. So you can, if you know how to read HTML, you can see that this is way better to read than the previous one, right? Good. So once we have all that being done, we can go down here and simply do the following. So you can actually, if you want to view the whole thing, you can actually view it right here. You can copy this and display the HTML, and you should see hopefully the same table. So let's try to do the same thing in here in Python. For those of us who don't like HTML or don't know how to display that table in HTML format, you're going to say from ipython .core .display display. I'm going to go ahead and import the HTML. So I don't need this right here. So I'm going to import the HTML. I'm going to go and simply say HTML, and then pass in the first it is called, let me just minimize this. So it's going to be called the first table element right there, the first table HTML, and let's display that. So you can see now it has been displayed in a HTML format. So good, that's awesome, right? So now let's compare this and see if it's the same information that we have extracted. So assets, and then you can see this information. So asset and a current asset, and then you have all the other information right here. So the cache is 11,552. Let's see that 11,552 asset. Current 11,000, cache is 11,552, and then this one is blank, and we have the same thing here. So let's look at available account receivables is 42,900 and something, and there's the same information in 595. So 5955. So you can see it has extracted the table, and everything is as it is. And also have the liability part of this table, and all has been extracted properly, right? So you can see all the table information has been extracted. So this is the first table. So the 8 different tables that it has been extracted, and you can go ahead and do the same thing for all the view tables if you want to, right? Good. So once we have that there, we are good to go. So now you can also convert this into a pandas data frame if you want to, for the Python and data science lover. So you can do pandas import pandas as PD, right? So import pandas as PD. You're going to go and simply say df data is going to give us a lot of data frames. So I'm going to say pdf dot read html, and you're going to simply say df, it's going to be equals to dfs, and then you're going to get the very first one, and you can go ahead and display df dot head just like that, and let's run it. So you can see it has extracted the same information right here, right, in a pandas data frame. You might need to do a bit of cleaning to this, because you can see this is current. You might need to, because this is it's a bit of a kind of like a pivoted table. So some things are not as there's no row and column for every section, right? So you might want to clean this and drop out some information before you use it to do any data science work. Okay, so once we have that, let's look at the text, the different text elements. So good. So let me just create another markdown right here, and let's call it examine text elements. So I'll look at the table tabular elements. So let me just, you can go ahead and minimize it if you want to, but let me just leave it open. Let's continue with it. So I'm going to say text is going to be, let me call it text is going to be equals to, and then from the table, you're going to go ahead and do the following. So I'm going to say text, you're going to say the following. So I'm going to say L for L in elements that category equals to text is no, okay, let's, because there are different elements being extracted, right? I want to extract I want to get the ones which are not text type, which are not table. So everything else that is not table, we consider is a text. So narrative text, title, and uncategorized text are all text elements because they're not tables, right? So in other cases, you might also have images. In that case, you need to do a different kind of processing, right? Okay, so once we have that, they're going to do text, and then we're going to get the very first element, and you're going to do dot text, and let's see what we get back. So this actually text right here, and then let's get that. So you can see a basic understanding of financial statement, and that is actually the very first heading right here. So if you look here, that's the very first heading, right? So you can change this and see how different information you get back. So let's say 1, and you can see during the accounting, this that should be this part right here, right? Awesome. Good. So once we have all that done, so we have basically extracted the different tables and the different text from all this, right? So what I want to go ahead and do is now combine all this into one variable called extracted text. We're going to use this for a different purpose, okay? Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and get the code from my my file right here. So this is an article that an article on this video. You can find it on my Medium page. The links in the description of the video. So I'm going to get this code from the article. And if you want to get access to the article, the links in the description of the video. So basically, you're going to extract everything and then put in one variable called extracted text. Okay. So once I have it, I'm going to go ahead and simply run this cell. And once I run that cell, I'm going to go ahead and print out the information. I'm going to go ahead and say print. I'm going to go ahead and say print, and then I'm going to say extracted text information, and you can print that. So you can see we have all the tables and all the text and all that, right? So if you click on this right here, you should be able to see it, right? So now we have the HTML table and everything, right? Perfect. So once we have this information being displayed right here, we can also now display this information in form of a markdown to make it more readable or more appealing. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to say from IP python.co.display, I'm going to go ahead and import markdown instead of HTML. So I'm going to go ahead and simply say markdown and then display the extracted text information. And this is a displayed text information in markdown format. So you can see all the text information from here. If I go back to a document, you can see all the text information of here, and then we have the different tables and then tables and stuff like that. So you can see all that has been extracted successfully, right? So you can see all that is all in here. So I basically extracted that table into a HTML document, basically, right? So you can see all that tables have been extracted in here. Good. So once we have all this being extracted, what you can simply do right now is now pre-process the extracted tables and text, right? You can pre-process these extracted tables and text. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and simply get again, this is a bit of a long code. I don't want you guys to watch me type it all out. I'm going to go down here and simply copy it from here and then simply paste it right there. So copy this. And again, the link to the article is in the description of the video. So paste it right here. So what you're simply doing is here, we have created, I've used a Pydantic object to create something called element. And each element is going to have a type and a page content, right? I'm going to extract the different types, like the tables, narrative text, the list items, title, addresses, email. These are the different types we have. I just included all of them because in the future, you might want to scale this to a different thing and you might have different element types in there. Okay, so I have included all the elements types from the future documentation. And once I run that, we should now go ahead and get the following. So I'm going to go ahead and simply say extract a different table. So let me just actually let's name this a bit just to make everything structured. So I'm going to document everything basically. So pre-process, so we are doing the pre-process extracted tables and text. Yeah, and that's another section on our slide. So if I go back in here, so yeah, they're doing this right here, extracting the pre-processes and process the extracted tables and text. That's what we are doing right now, right? Good. So once we have this right here, what I would like to do, I'm going to create a variable called, I'm going to create a, we're going to extract all the tables first. I'm going to say table underscore elements. So table elements is going to be, and then get all the table elements. Okay, where the type is going to be equals the table element, right? So that's basically what you're trying to do here. So we're going to simply say dot type. It's going to be equals the simple elements right here. Okay, because if the reason I'm saying dot type is because this element has a type, and if you understand how Pydantic works, Pydantic object, you can understand we're specifying the types right here. So we're extracting all the ones in which the type is table. That's what you're trying to do. And from there, we're going to go ahead and just print the length of the table elements, just like that. Now let's do the same thing now for the text element. So this is going to be equals to the text element. So we're going to say text element where element is going to be equals to text, and then from there I'm going to go ahead and print the length of the text element, just like that. And let's print this. So we have 8 tables and 44 text elements. Awesome. So once we have this done, you can go ahead and actually print out the different text element if you want to see. So I'm going to go ahead and do for text underscore element in text element. You can just go ahead and say print the page content. So you can see all the text elements right here, right? You can just click on this right here, and you can just see all the text elements. Awesome. Good. So once we have that, you can also go ahead and do the same thing for the table elements. So I'm going to go ahead and say underscore all table underscore HTML, and it's going to be equals to an empty string. And I'm going to say for table in table elements. So for each of those tables, I'm going to go ahead and simply add elements. And then finally, I want to add a line break. So I'm going to go ahead and do the following. So I'm going to use this BR, this BR, and I want to do another one. So BR, yeah. So I haven't actually forgot my HTML syntax anyway. So once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and simply print the page content if you want to. So print table content right here, and let's run. So you can see these are all the HTML elements, and you have extracted all of them and added them all of them here, and each of them has a line break between. So good. So once we have that, then we can actually display this HTML element if you want to. I'm going to say markdown. Remember, we imported markdown and then display all the HTML tables. So good. So if I run that, you can see we are displaying all the different HTML tables that have been extracted so far, right? So these are all the HTML tables right there. Okay. It looks like I forgot my HTML syntax. Okay. It's actually / and not \. Okay. Looks like I forgot my HTML. Okay, and let's run this one more time. So you can see now the BR just simply adds a line break between the different tables. So you can see each table is standing separate on its own. That's what I want you to see. Okay, good. So once we have all that done, now we are good to go. Okay, so if you look at these different tables, you actually trace them to an existing table. So if you look, for example, let's take this table. So let's copy this text right here, copy it, go back into my document in here, and then Control F, and then I paste in whatever I've copied. You can see this is the table information. So furniture and equipment, and you can see all that furniture and equipment, 20%, and you can see not that one right there. Let me see if that's the right one. Okay, there's also furniture and equipment right here. So I got the other one. So if I scroll down, there should be another one for furniture and equipment. Yeah, this one right here, furniture and equipment, right? So you can see it right here. Yeah, this is the table. This table right here is this one right here. But the other one, which is 20%, this one right here, it's this one right here, right? Vehicle, 30% decline. Okay. Okay, awesome. So I hope you can see. You can always pause the video and trace things of yourself to see if these tables are being just generated out of thin air, or it's actually tables inside of our document. Okay, so once we have done that, we have pre-processed the existing text. So now let's let me just take you back here. So generating summaries, and then let me look at this one right here. So that's what we're going to do next, is just generating summaries. So we have extracted the tables, visualized them, and understood that, hey, these tables are actually extracted, and they're actually extracted in the right format. So now we're going to go ahead and generate summaries for this. So why do we need summaries? Well, let me explain. So we have a user upload a PDF document that uses unstructured.io to, okay, the user uploads a PDF document. We use unstructured.io to extract the information to different tables and text data, right? So we're going to create a summary for each of those. So you might ask me, how do you create a summary for a table, right? Okay, let me explain that. Okay, so if I go back in here, if looking at this table and someone asks you, hey, can you give me a summary of this table? So you might look at this table and say, okay, this table gives a percentage of declining balances for the furniture equipment, for vehicle, for computer equipment, and leasehold improvements, right? So you haven't mentioned much about what's the content of the table, but you're just giving a general brief description and overview of what this table contains, and basically which is a decline of balances, right? Of the for the equipment and the furniture, for computers, for vehicle, and also the leasehold improvement. You just gave a brief description of the table. So that's what summarizing does. You're going to give this table to an LLM and ask the LLM to give us a summary of this table, right? So we'll have the summary of the table and also the raw tabular data. By the raw tabular data, I mean the HTML of this table, right? So we're going to do the same thing for the text. We're going to get the summary of each text and also going to have the raw text itself. And why is this important? I will see that just in a second. So we're going to go ahead and create embeddings for this, right? So let me just bring you back here and explain this to you, and I'll go back just a second. So we are right here, right? This is what we have done so far, right? No, actually, we have done this so far. So we're going to create a summary. So whenever the user asks a question, what is the furniture? Okay, let me just use the table. What is the furniture and equipment decreasing balance, right? So where we generate a summary of the table, right? It's talking about the table and what it contains from a general aspect without going into the content of the table itself. So we are going to now index that. So you're going to take our query asking about what is the furniture and equipment declining rate or percentage. So it's going to we're going to pass this to we're going to search our multi-vector retrieval, and it's going to go ahead and perform a similarity search between our query and the summary embeddings. So it's going to find out that, hey, this table, this summary of this table can be used to answer the question. So it's going to return to us the raw tabular data instead of the summary. So the summary is just to help us to understand which raw data can be used to answer a given question, right? So that's from the summary we can know which raw information or raw table can be used to answer the question. I'm going to return the raw table information to LLM, and the LLM can generate an answer based on that. So the LLM will now have an overview of this table, the whole table, instead of a summary of the table. So we don't lose any information, right? The LLM has access to the whole table and can answer any question that comes from it, right? Instead of just a summary of the table, the LLM is actually getting the real table itself. So how do we relate a summary embedding to a raw data? We use basically an ID. So we say that this summary table has an ID of 1, and the table column also have an ID of 1. So you can think of it like columns, right? So ID here is 1 matches to an ID. So it's more like primary keys in a database, right? So if you say that the primary key for this, okay, actually it would be the foreign key, right? So the foreign key for this would be the primary key in this other one. So kind of thing. And then we retrieve the information past the LM. The LM can generate an answer based on that. And we do the same thing for the text information as well. Good. So let's go ahead and create embeddings. So I'm going to go down here, and then simply add the following. So I'm going to say creating embeddings. Okay, this shall be text embeddings. Okay. So we need to import a couple of things. I'm going to say from Langchain underscore core. I'm going to go ahead and import .core.output processor. I'm going to go ahead and import the str output processor. I'm going to say from Langchain dot prompt right here. I'm going to go ahead and import the chat prompt template, this one right here. And I'm also going to go ahead and say from Langchain. So let me just bring this all the way up here. From Langchain.co, I'm going to go ahead Langchain this is actually open AI. I'm going to go ahead and import the chat completion, just the chat open AI, just like that. Just like that. So good. So once you have that, I'm going to run that cell, and then we are going to go ahead and create the summary. So we're going to go ahead and say create this. We're going to use Langchain expression language. So Langchain expression language, and you're going to use Langchain expression language to define a chain that can be used to create summary. So I'm going to say summary underscore chain is going to be equals to the following. So we're going to simply say the following. So we're going to go ahead and simply pass in a parenthesis right here. We're going to go ahead and pass in the first thing is going to be doc, and each doc is going to have lambda. You're going to have a lambda function. The lambda x, and you're going to do something x. You're going to put down this x just like that. So that's all we need. And then we're going to have also from there, we're going to have pass in a pipe symbol right here. Okay, you're going to have the chat prompt template right here. You're going to go and you're going to say dot from underscore template, and you're going to simply say basically summarize the document, summarize the following. Okay, let's say summarize a following. Okay, following. Basically, this is actually tables or text. So table or text given to you, given below. And then finally, you're going to go ahead and simply say, and you're going to go ahead and pass in the doc information right here. So the doc, the doc information. So we're going to simply, let me just keep a line break right here, /n just to make a line break. Okay, that's all we are going to do there. And then from there, we pass in another pipe symbol. So I made an error right here. We don't actually need to keep a comma right here. So that's wrong. So yeah, another pipe symbol. And you're going to go ahead and simply say chat open AI. And the model you're going to use is going to be chats. And then you're going to go ahead and simply say max underscore retrieve, max retries. And you're going to say max retries. You're going to set that to be, let's say 3. Okay. So this is chat open AI. So you got that from here, chat open AI. And then you're using it right here, chat open AI, and then passing in that information. Again, I forgot this, you don't need a comma right here. Okay. Okay, so once you have that, again, you create another pipe symbol, and you're going to pass in the final output to be to the stream output process. So we have a document right here. We have defined a document. You're going to have a prompt template telling it to summarize the document. You're going to pass that to the OpenAI chat OpenAI, and then from there we pass the output from this chat OpenAI using the string output process. Okay, good. Once we have that done, let's go ahead and now generate summary for table. So table summaries, and then you're going to go ahead and do the following. So I'm going to say tables underscore content is going to be equals to the following. So tables content is going to be equals to, and you're going to do the following. Say I dot page underscore content. Remember, each table has a page content. So if you go back all the way here, we have type and page content, right? So that's what you're trying to access. So we're going to say I dot page content. You're going to do that for I in table elements. That's it. And then from there, you can go ahead and see tables underscore summary. Table, let me just say table underscore summaries is going to be equals to the summary chain. You're going to simply use a batch. You're going to use a batch. You have a batch of maybe around 5 at the time. So table content, and you're going to go ahead and pass in a dictionary. You're going to simply say max concurrency, and that's going to be 5. So 5 will be processed at the same time. So once you have that done, let me run that. And for this to happen, you need to have an open API key. So I have an open API key, and I have my open API key inside of my virtual environment. So I'm going to go ahead and simply say open AI underscore API API underscore key, and you're going to go ahead and simply add your open API key equals to, and then you're going to go ahead and SK something like this, and then pass in your open API key, and then this should be inside of your virtual environment. Okay, so mine is loaded inside of my environment already, so I don't have to actually mention it. You see, I didn't specify it anywhere, but it's already loaded inside of my environment. So make sure that you have your open API key inside of your environment there. So once we have that, let's take a look at the table underscore summaries, and let's look at let's say the first 2 of this table summary. So run that. You can see the table shows the asset, liabilities, and shareholders equity of a company for the year 2002 and 2000. Address for this and then current blah blah. You can see all that information. That summarize the table, and also use a bit of the table content itself. So if you look at the first table that we have right here, so if you look all the way here, you can see this table is indeed for assets and liabilities, right? And from the year 2002 to 2001, I believe. So if I check the document, I have to go all the way up. Let me just close this. Go all the way up to the first table. That's from the year 2002 2001. Okay, so the OCR failed to identify that it is 2001. It's a 2000. Okay, but yeah, the LM can make up for that. So it's a bit has some intelligence, so you can make up for that. So you can see now the table summary. So we're going to now create indexes for this, and then finally store these indexes, right? Okay, so we are good to go. So once we have that done, So let's go ahead and generate the summaries for the text information as well. So we're going to say text summaries, and you're going to go ahead and do the same thing right here. And then yeah, so we're going to do the same thing right here. So once we have it, I'm just going to go ahead and run that, and that's going to go ahead and generate the text summaries as well. Okay, so once we have that, I'm going to go ahead and do the following. So text underscore summaries, and let's see the first two text summaries that we have. Okay, so that's returned to us the text summaries, and you can see them. Wait for this to complete. So you can see right here provides a overview, blah blah, and you can see the summary of each text. So the first text chunk will be summarized, and all of them will be summarized. So the first text chunk, remember we looked at it, it was this right here, right? So its summary will be generated, which is this line, and that's what you're going to be embedding. Okay. Okay, so now that we have done that, now let's go ahead and you create now the we have created the summaries already. We're going to go ahead and create the multi-vector. So if I go in here, so if I go in here, you're going to now go ahead and create the multi-vector retrieval. So this multi-vector retrieval, I made an error right here, so MVR, right? Multi-vector retrieval. And you can read more about the multi-vector retrieval from the Langchain official documentation in case you want to, right? So yes, that's the multi, and you're using the summary section of it, right? Cool, cool. So now let's go ahead and now create the code to be able to work with the multi-vector retrieval. So we need to import a couple of things, and just to save on time, let me just go ahead and bring those things from this import right here, so you don't waste time. Again, this article is online, so you can always find access to it. You can always get access to it, and I'm going to have the repository for this code as well. So let's run that. Actually, let's make a bit of document this a bit. So multi-vector retrieval. Okay, so once we have those things imported, what do we need to do now? We also need to have this piece of code. So I'm going to copy this code and then paste it right here, so we save on time. Okay, so basically this is what you're going to use a store of in-memory store, and each doc is going to have a unique identifier called a doc ID. You're going to have a connect to a Chroma DB. You're going to create a collection called financials, and you're going to store it in here in a folder called .chroma chroma underscore data. You're using the OpenAI embedding. For this, again, you need to have your OpenAPI key. We already talked about this. Now you're going to create a multi-vector retrieval, passing the vector database that you want to use. The doc store, you're passing the store that you in-memory store, and then now you're using the ID key, and you're using the ID key, which is this one, doc ID. Okay, so we go in here and you pass in the ID and with the doc ID, and we pass in one. So we are creating for each of the text for each of the table elements, each will have a unique UUID. You're going to use a UUID right here to associate each embedding to each table, right? We talked about this already. So we have the table summaries. So this is going to be table summaries. Okay, I made an error right here. So that's actually table and not that the other way around, but we leave it like that. Okay, so it's going to go through each of the table summary, store each of the summary, and link it to a given table from our table elements. Okay, and then from there you're going to go ahead and add in documents, and you're going to add in the summary of the tables, and then from there you're going to go ahead and also doc.mset. You're going to also say that each document is attached to each doc ID is associated with each document table, because this will help us to retrieve the right table. And the same thing we do for text, and then from there we run the code. Okay, so that's going to go ahead and create that embedding for us. So we'll just give it a bit of time. Okay, so while that's already going on, so now we're going to go ahead and now try to retrieve some information. So you can see we have this folder right here. So this is done. So now let's try to retrieve some information. So let me add it right here. So we're going to say information retrieval. So for information retrieval, what I'm going to go ahead and do is the following. So I'm going to say retrieved underscore first underscore response is going to be equals to the following. So I'm going to go ahead and say retrieval dot retrieval. Let me just go ahead and remove this. So retrieval dot invoke just like this, and I'm going to ask it a question. So give me summary of the cash flow. Let's say cash flow. Let's say cash flow. Let me just get the question from here so I don't make any typos and we save on time. So give me a summary of the cash flow from 2020, 2002, 2001. So remember that the 2001 was not extracted properly, but LLM should be able to adjust for it because it has some level of intelligence. So extracting, let's basically give it a summary of the cache. We're asking the LLM to give us a summary of the cache flows from the operating activities, right? So now which table will be used to answer that question? And that's what we're going to get back and see. So run the code and let's see. So we have it right here. So now let's go ahead and actually print those responses. And to do that, you can just go ahead and simply say print and then print that response. And let's see what we get back. So we got back this one right here. So good. So once we have that there, let's go ahead and actually pre-process this and so you can view it in a much more detail. So to do that, I'm just going ahead and get the code from here, copy it just to save on time because the video is becoming a bit too long. So we run that. So you can say, okay, I think I made a typo, copy that, paste it here. Okay, let's run this one more time. So you can see this is the information. So you say XY Company Limited statement of cash flow year 2002 to ended year blah blah. So it give us just say the year at which it ended. It didn't give us much information about that. Okay. Let's see what else we can look at. So it is a retrieval.invoke and then we invoke that information. So you can see this is not actually the information that we want back. The information that we want back should be more of a tabular format, but it's giving us this information back that we are getting back. Okay. Let's see what we can do. So let's ask it another question and let's see the response, because when I ran it the first time, it actually returned to me a table. That's what I was expecting to get back, right? And not this a summary of that. So sometimes this can make a mistake. So let's just remove the summary part. So give me, yeah, let's do this instead and let's see what we get back. Okay, give us the same information basically. So okay, but sometimes it gives you the actual table and not the actual. So give me the table for this, and let's run this, and let's run this, let's run this as well. So it gives us the same information back, but it should give back, ideally it should give you back the tabular information instead of whatever information it's giving us right now, which is actually not what I expected to get back, right? So good. So once we have this information being extracted, so let's see if I can see. Okay, that's basically it. So let's see if I got that right. Yeah. Okay, let me ask another question and let's see if I bring back my document right here. Let's ask it, let's see, okay, give me information about the revenues. Let's see if that will work. So give me information about their revenue, and let's see this. Okay, now this is in a table. So now we have a table instead. That's what I was really expecting. So markdown, and let's view the markdown. So you can see I asked a question about the revenue, and I was just looking at this table right here, and it actually gave me the exact table that I was looking at, and it gave me the revenue information from that specific table. So you can see it's passing this table to the LLM. Now the LLM can now use this table to answer our question, right? So yeah, sometimes again, these are AI system, so sometimes we might get the wrong answer like we got previously. So right now it's working perfectly, right? Good. So once we have that, we can now go ahead and build now our chatbot to be able to answer the different build the chatbot. So let's just add it here. So chat interface. So chatbot interface. So chatbot interface, just like that. And let's run that. So I'm going to go ahead and get the code from in here, right? So get the code from in here. So copy all this, copy it all, copy that, and just go ahead and simply add it here. Basically, you're just importing LangChain this, and then you're putting the runnable, and then you create a template, answer the question based on the context provided to you, and we provide the context in the user question. Now the context will be things like this this table being retrieved back. So if you ask the question about the net income tax and the net income before tax, you're gonna use this table and extract the net income tax and then be able to answer the question. So that's basically what this chatbot does. Okay, so once we have that, now you can ask it different questions. So let's ask it a question and let's see what we have right here. So run and let's see. So what is the leasehold improvement cost? The leasehold improvement cost. So let's just copy this and let's actually search for this inside of our document and let's see what we're getting back. So I'm going to press Control F. And then I'm going to go ahead, replace this with this, and then press enter. So they can see the leasehold cost improvement, the leasehold improvement, and then its cost is 37,350, and you get back $37,350, which is absolutely correct. So you can see how that works. You can see how you can answer basically any question, and you can also see the information, the table that is being retrieved to answer the question. So if you want to see the actual table, just copy this. In fact, you can just go back in here. Let's redo this right here. So you can go back in here. I'm gonna copy this right here. Copy this, go all the way down, paste it in here, and then I'm going to change the question. So copy the question. So I want to see which information, which table it's used to answer the question. So copy that, and then I'm also going to copy now the way we can display this information. So go back all the way in here, copy this, and then I'm going to go all the way down here and then paste it here. Sorry, paste it here and then run that. So you can see we have it right here. You can go ahead and say markdown and then run that. So you can see now it used the exact table that I was looking at, which is this table right here, to answer the question. So this table was sent to the LLM, and the LLM used this table to answer the different questions, right? So you can see now we're not just answering the question from thin air. We actually have evidence for why the AI actually answered that question in that specific manner. So you can test it out, answer passing different questions, and get back different responses, and then play around with it, right? So okay guys, this video got a bit too long, but finally we are at the end. So thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know guys what you guys want to create in the next video. Again, if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, one of the easiest ways you can support the channel is by subscribing to the YouTube channel. Let me know what you guys want to see in the next video, right? So if you want to connect with me, you can find me on Medium at Prince Crumper, on YouTube, hopefully where you're watching this video, at Code with Prince. On Twitter, you can find me aka X. You can find me on Prince_Crumper. On LinkedIn, you can find me at Prince Crumper. Yeah. So those are the places where you can find me at. If you want, you have any questions, any inquiries, you want to build any project, you're having difficulties, you want to reach out, feel free to reach out. I'll be more than glad to help you. So guys, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Again, if you guys like reading instead of watching, you can always read my articles as well. The link to those articles is in the description of the video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and see you in the next video. Keep safe.